give it a moment. Everything a minute here to get started. Sometimes it's a little slow on that one, but we'll give it a moment. Where is it at? Has it started? I think we're good. Also, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here. Going to do a live stream for you guys. I want to talk about some current events, and obviously we can talk about other stuff, tons of stuff. Please ask your questions. Please click like as soon as you get into either one of the streams that are going. But the thing I want to talk about today, and I think this is a topic we have to cover with all of this, topic we have to cover is this idea of what value do we place on human life as a society? And I think we've been put into with all this stuff, and I say this because I've watched people say horrible things. This is just a little Sonic Cherry Limeade and a little potassium in my water. I mix it into a gallon jug. It's just electrolyte water, really. Just electrolyte water. So the question that we have to ask here, though, because people are talking about, and I've seen stuff to where people are literally saying, they're saying things like, and I'll get to y'all's fitness questions in a bit. I haven't been using my bar lately. I used it for a couple of workouts a while back, but I haven't been. It's stuff like I've seen everything from, well, people need to die for what they say. And I've seen people even suggest, in some of the stuff, hey, Green Pill, you really got to chill with that. You got to chill with that. I saw someone even on my Facebook, they got in and they said, well, I'm not saying I would personally do it. He was saying that if someone is creating, divisiveness with their speech, that they need to die. And it's like, are we seriously as a society sitting there and people having that conversation, that there's significant numbers of people who are saying stuff that, and I get there are cases where we have death penalty. I get self-defense. I get these things. Like these are different, right? I get that violent criminals are executed. I get that we need to defend our lives sometimes. That's not even what we're talking about, right? We're talking about literally at the point where people are talking about murdering other people because of ideas, okay? Not even because of things they've physically done. All right, I agree. And being bad doesn't mean you're evil. Evil and being not a good person are not always the same thing. I think there's definitely degrees of badness to the point where we can get to where someone is pure evil. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say, let's talk about what evil is, Taming of Eli. Let's talk about what evil is. I personally think that killing another person purely over their ideas they've expressed. I get it. They're threatening you. Okay, they're threatening to kill you, self-defense. I mean, I think a violent threat is enough to use deadly force in response, right? An immediate, someone's words, if they yell that they're going to kill you and they've got an angry look on their face and they're advancing, okay, fine. So I'm not saying words never, but when someone's words are they're expressing an idea that you disagree with, a social idea, a political idea, to think that this is grounds to take their life, I think that's evil. And so we're really having this crisis of conscience as a society where we're really having to discuss, this is a serious topic, as a serious topic of, is it okay to take a life over ideas? My God. I mean, let's think of that. Let's think about that for a moment. We as a society are really having a discussion of if it's acceptable to take another person's life over their ideas, their thoughts, expressing their thoughts and ideas. Wow. How far down an ideological rabbit hole do we have to go to where a person starts to say, a person needs to die because of their ideas. Well, I think their ideas are dangerous. Okay. I mean, in the past, who had that? In the past, you go back in history, No, he doesn't appear to be at all Pancake. If you not look further, his family, no, they've released more info. No, he was definitely far left at this point. So that's kind of been, and I'm going to say the other thing that annoyed me. Someone said the reason for it was the squatting Slav thing. What do they not realize that's a whole subculture group online that has nothing to do with gripers? Does everyone not understand that? I literally follow squatting Slavs in tracksuits on social media. It's a group I follow because I'm Slavic, and it's mostly jokes about Eastern European culture and Slavic cultures. So the whole squatting Slav thing is literally nothing to do with the gripers. That's a one little thing that some of them adopted one time as a meme. That was literally being used as evidence of one of the biggest pieces. That's not even a right-wing thing, guys. Okay? The whole squatting Slav is its own separate thing on the internet, not even related to those specific political ideologies. And I'm very, very intimately familiar with it because I follow those groups and I think it's hilarious. And I literally follow like the pages with millions of followers who do that. It's mostly just us making jokes of people of either who live in various Eastern European countries or who are of that ethnic group, which I am. I'm of that ethnicity. Look at my last name. Like we're laughing at Slavic culture. Because a lot of it's still carried over to our family, that my dad's whole family is a complete stereotype, right? They're a complete stereotype of that whole meme, all the way up to including organized crime. Some of them, kind of being Slavic gangsters. So the thing is, like people took that way out of context, Pancake. No, he doesn't appear to be at all. Also, that group is a Christian nationalist group. You see the problem? They're also a very anti-gay group. That group is extremely anti-gay. He literally had a live-in boyfriend who's going through a transition. This is not, it doesn't match. Vanilla, okay. Are you not keeping up with it? You guys have missed the plot there. Yeah, and his own family has said he started adopting extreme left-wing ideologies in the last few years. This is coming from his own family. Are you out of the loop on this? Right? This is very much more of an Antifa type thing. If you look into his type of ideology, that's actually more closely where it would have been. But we deal with these ideological rabbit holes. Let's look at all these groups though. And I addressed that yesterday, right? It's definitely that I'm going to consider it a boyfriend. He's having sex with someone who has a penor. Let's just call that a boyfriend. I mean, is this in question? Come on. Just stop. You could start making those arguments after a transition. Okay, you could start having that argument at that point. You're sleeping with someone who has a penor. You're a man. You have the male junk. You're sleeping with someone who has the male junk. This is pretty straightforward. Right? So, but that's the problem, Green Pill. We live in a society to where we are supposed to be able to express our ideas in an open forum and discuss them. If we're at a point then but that's the argument being used, well, because ideas in history have been used for whatever, so then we suppress ideas. So then the whole argument that we're then having as a society is no longer, hey, do we use force after those ideas have harmed people, but to preemptively say, well, because I think their ideas are dangerous, they need to die. Did you understand the rabbit hole we're going down? Okay? Because they're expressing an idea they need to die, an idea that you don't like or you disagree with. And this is a problem. And I get it. There can be a point of reprehensibleness to where you go, well, are there limits to that? At what point does the idea become so reprehensible? And I can see that there's definitely going to be cases, to where a lot of us we're going to have that knee jerk reaction. For example, if it involves, pederasses, right? I'm not going to say the real word. You guys know what I mean. Of them expressing that that they think with small children. Okay, I can see at that point where a lot of us are going to have the knee jerk of going, yeah, you know what? You're not expressing this idea. I get it. I kind of feel that way too. You know what I mean? But when we're over to a point where popular ideas, because let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. It's not like even Charlie was expressing fringe ideas. Okay, let's be clear. It's not like he was expressing fringe ideas that only 1 or 2% of the population even hold. Okay. It's not like he was an extremist compared to mainstream America by and large. But you see my point here, right? We're talking at this point about killing someone for expressing popular ideas, not even fringe crazy ideas, expressing ideas that plenty of people hold as normal and have historically held as normal for a long time in our society, that happen to disagree with a newer set of ideas that have come in. Let's be clear. The things that he stood against and he argued against are largely newer ideas that have been introduced originally as fringe ideas. But let's come over back to that other point. We're still talking about as a society, and I had people come on my Facebook literally arguing the case that he should have died. Well, that now we're getting into a big religious argument. So here's going to be my next point. So then do you kill everyone who believes that that's what Scripture says? Right? Well, no, I'm not talking about appeal to popularity. You're talking about murdering people for having mainstream ideas. And again, let's keep in mind, this is expressing ideas. It's different when you're like, well, he's expressing ideas that will lead to killing people. Was he? These are ideas people already hold. He was making counter arguments, towards another movement. But so if you're going to come over to some of that, then are you going to go after Islam? Right? So if you're going to have a problem with that, so if you're going to go to the idea that anyone promoting who's saying that that's God's law needs to die, then you have to get rid of an entire religion that the majority of that religion agree with that. It's not a misdirection. But that's my point. Are we going to be consistent? Are you going to apply that same rule to every religion and a member of that religion who holds that view? You got about 1 billion Muslims that you're going to have to deal with at that point. Are you going to Charlie Kirk all of them? Think that's going to work out too well? I don't think this is going to work out too well in your favor. I don't think you getting up and saying that is going to work out too well in your favor. I mean, let's talk about stirring a hornet's nest you don't want to stir up. Are you going to apply that equally? Are you only going to single out the few Christians saying it, or are you going to go after the other big religions that their members are saying it? Because I can tell you from my own conversations with members of that religion, because I've had personal one-on-one conversations with quite a few members of that particular religion about this. By and large, that is what is written, and that is what we believe. Like a majority hold that view. Well, you got 1 billion people you're going to have to deal with then. No, I don't believe in any form of gun control personally. I oppose all gun control. I think we have too much. It needs to be repealed. My opinion, says me. But again, that's a very controversial topic, isn't it? No, I believe in the Bill of Rights. I don't think anyone who can safely own one should be free on the street. If you're too dangerous to own one, you need to be locked up for everybody's safety. If you're too dangerous to own one, you shouldn't be on the street. My opinion. I think that's very straightforward. Right? Why would you have a person out on the street who's too dangerous to practice their basic constitutional right? They're a danger to society. They shouldn't be out there then. But that's my opinion. Let's be clear. I'm not a policymaker. I don't write laws. I don't influence policy. This is my personal perspective on that particular topic. And it's a topic I do have fairly strong personal feelings about. Right? You know. Now, am I saying that we're going to enforce that? No, I don't write the laws. I'm not on the Supreme Court. I'm not in Congress. I'm not in the Senate. I have held no position of government power. I have no ability to regulate laws or enforce laws. Right? But if you ask me how will I vote if stuff is put to a vote? Right? So it's all good, the green pill.